What's up everyone, thank you for tuning in again. A few weeks ago I made a video called 10 things only old school Maples remember. And you're looking at the comments right now and I got a lot of cool feedback and things that people remember. And since I'm totally not running out of video ideas, here are 10 more things that only old school Maples remember. And it's kind of based on your comments. So first up was the first and best rated comment was actually one about the dice. The dice, when you create a new character, you would have to roll a dice, and with that dice your stats will be randomized. However, unfortunately I didn't find any video footage of it, so here's a nice screenshot after we go through the old world and channel selection. So if you start a new character back then, like 10 to 12 years ago, a long time ago, at least not sure what year exactly, you didn't start with perfect stats. No, you had to roll a dice, and every time you roll a dice you would get randomized stats. So people were trying to get that 4, 4, what is it, 8, 7, 12, and people just, it was so hard to do. You could spend hours trying to create a character just to get those right stats you wanted. It was good old times, but no, I don't really miss that, to be honest. Up next is another thing I saw a lot of comments about, PQs. Not just any PQ in general, just all PQs, like this one of course, Koning City PQ, where you have to battle King Slime. I never really was a fan of this PQ because there was like auto-clickers everywhere. People were keeping track lists of people who were in there just so they could enter right on time, because only one party could enter at the same time. One PQ that I did like though was the Hennessy's or Moon Bunny PQ. You had to collect and plant seeds everywhere, and then there was this Moon Bunny who would start making rice cakes, and you had to like protect him while monsters appear. It was pretty cool, it was pretty fun, it was pretty ingenious back then, and people were like trying to smuggle out these rice cakes and stuff like that. It was just good old times. And of course for the higher levels there was the Ludovica PQ. Ludovica PQ was also a lot of fun. You had to have certain characters from certain classes, else you couldn't even finish this PQ. It made it pretty unique. And of course Carnival PQ. I have a feeling I showed this PQ in every nostalgic video that I made. That's why I left it out last time. Trading wins and getting scammed out of it because people were like, oh, we're gonna trade wins with you, but I have to go first, and then they log off or something like that. Happened a lot back then, but this was actually a really fun PQ. And this next thing is I want to show it to you guys. I know the quality is horrible, my apologies for that, but this is a video of someone getting really lucky. This is like super pre-Big Bang, pre-like Aster Shield and Mystic Shield. Basically, when you were a mage, you could only get like, I believe it was a broken fence and a panlet. And panlets would only drop from pixies and from green mushrooms. And if you actually found one, you were super lucky because they were like worth 300k mesos, and they were the best shield a mage could get. Before, of course, the maple shields came out as well. So this guy was super lucky. Another thing I always remember that I always used to do as well was stalking people, especially high level people. So when for example Tiger got online, or Fangblade, or Curious Hot, or Scuba Steve, or whoever, or Mr. Yandao, like everyone would just like go swarm around them. These people could not like play the game normally without constantly being annoyed by people stalking them, following them everywhere. They must have really hated it. Up next is another thing I really don't miss. Like for real, I don't miss this at all. So when you did the third job advancement, like also a long time ago, you actually had to do a quiz. And to start this quiz you have to, I believe it was a dark crystal or a black crystal, I'm not exactly sure. But you have to turn in one of these crystals, and then you can do a quiz with like super difficult questions. And if you actually failed that question, you had to get another one of these crystals, and they were like super expensive and really hard to find. So this was not fun to do, and the questions were horrible. Like for real, like you had to know everything about NPCs, about potions, what type of potion heals what, how much HP or MP. And back in this day, like there weren't that many guides about things. Like people didn't really have their own website, YouTube didn't exist back then. So yeah, good luck finding the right answer. Like one of these potions results actually matches. Now orange potion doesn't give 200 HP, I know that. Ice cream pop 2000 HP, I don't know, lemon 1000 MP, could be fried chicken recovers 300 HP, I don't know, it's probably the pizza that's right. Like how do you know that? That's just insane. And of course one other thing that a lot of old school Maples who are a bit higher level remember, before people, I saw a lot of comments in the old videos saying people like, oh, I was buying Zack Helmet Service for like 50 million. Yes, Zack Helmet Service sold for 50 million back then, which was a lot because like 2 bill meso was like the max meso back then. But to actually, before you could go to Zakem, you had to do this horrible jump quest, this PQ as well, where you had to collect certain parts of a map. And of course, like you're seeing right now, this horrible jump quest. This is just still, I think, one of the hardest jump quests in the game. And I saw a lot of comments talking about Dexless Assassins. the scum of MapleStory, the damage host back then. Only wearing sauna robes and Zack helmets or bamboo hats, work gloves, like especially brown work gloves back then, and they would do like an insanely amount of damage, like 4K or something like that. But it was hilarious just to like, if you think about it now, like wow, these guys do 4K damage per line, that's insane. And they would dedicate their lives basically just to make sure they did the most damage, HP washing and whatnot. It was pretty sick. Another thing I saw a lot of comments about, but I couldn't find any video about. You're seeing it right now. It's right behind the guy who was in the weird carrot chair. That shack, people couldn't reach it except for hackers. So what would happen is like hackers would fly up there and drop stuff, and people were trying to get it. And there's so many fun memories there. Until the pirate class was released, because they actually had a legit way to get up there. And next up is, I actually showed this in a previous video as well, because right now the drop rate has been increased. But back then there were around like 800 quests in MapleStory, and people were trying to complete all of them. Because it's cool, you're awesome if you can complete all the quests, right? But there was this one quest called where you had to collect Nepenthet's honey to complete it, but the Nepenthet honey would only drop from Nepenthet's, and they would spawn on like 1 or 2 maps, and the drop rate was insanely low. Like I think Ilby's had higher drop rate than this freaking potion. And it didn't even do that much, but you needed it for the quest, because if you completed it, you got a super sweet sexy bone helm, and no one else basically got that, and you were super awesome. If you had this helmet, you would actually, people would have respect for you, because you actually got a Nepenthet honey. And finally, and also I'm sorry, only a screenshot, my bad. This guy, this person, he found someone who had a maple shield. Imagine that nowadays you have like the anniversary event, and you have like a million events and stuff's going on. You can get maple weapons, you can do a million quests. The first anniversary event, there was only maple weapons. That was the entire event, maple weapons, and people were going crazy about them, grinding and grinding just to get these weapons, making lists of what monster dropped which weapon. It was insane back then. Maple really was on fire, and these maple shields were pretty sick, because they were really literally like the best shields that you could get for warriors, because they had like 10 slots or something like that. They were insane. And that was 10 more things that only old school Maples remember. I hope you enjoyed this video as well. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.